So far, wherever I have worked, mental health has always been a stigma. People never want to talk about it, especially in Eritrea. There were people with real psychotic illnesses, but the families wouldn't accept it. And therefore, it was a big challenge. Talking about stigma and mental health issues, wherever I worked, it has been a big problem, definitely. Any kind of physical illness has a big component of mental health issues. Even if a person is suffering from HIV, they might not take the medication because they haven't come to terms with the fact that they are having this illness. So a mental health officer or a mental health counselor will start to counsel them, try to help them through that process, try to deal with their anxieties, and then help them to start to take the medication. And that is quite important. It is not just the mental health that we focus on. We have to look at the social aspects, where they live, how they live, do they get food, what kind of support do they get? And then within that, we try to find out how we can do the appropriate counsel. What a mental health officer is supposed to do is to train the local MSF staff in conducting a proper mental health work, which mainly involves counseling. What we do mainly is psychological interventions. And when we are in the field, the psychological intervention is on a very basic level. So we are trying to teach the counselors on a very basic counseling skills. That involves a lot of understanding of the problem that you're dealing with. So if I had no idea about HIV, I wouldn't be able to teach the counselors how to do HIV pre and post counseling. Depression along with anxiety is very common. Sometimes we do have schizophrenia, and those are the main ones that I have seen. But the manifestation of the depression or anxiety can vary. In some cases, I've seen people ending up with some form of convulsions, very, very common. Although they are not organic in their origin, it is a manifestation of their psychological discomfort. So they come in, they exhibit in form of convulsions, and once they are on some kind of counseling and they address the problems, what is causing this kind of depressive mood, then they start to get better. I have worked for a long time in the National Health Service. I was at the top of my career. I was consultant at some point, and as well as the head of a service at some point. But I was getting totally frustrated about it, and I was looking for other options. So at some point, I resigned from the NHS, and since then, I have worked for World Health Organization, United Nations. However, my experience with MSF has been such that now I'm hooked onto it. My heart was with MSF because once I did MSF, I didn't want to leave it. So that's how then I became, completely hooked onto MSF. So now that's what I do. So I don't do anything apart from MSF work. Language for a mental health officer is very important. And for me, as I was working in all these places where I couldn't converse in my language and I always had to depend on a translation or a translator, made it slightly frustrating for me as a mental health officer. It's never been a barrier because all the counselors, they knew English, so I could use them. But even in the translation, sometimes the gist of things does get lost. The feeling of satisfaction that one gets at the end of the day is a very big motivating factor. There's no way I can explain how it feels, but it definitely is a wonderful experience. So if someone is interested in being in a challenging situation, is being able to give as much as they can, and is resilient, then this is where they can get that reward of feeling satisfied.